Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video on kind of the flipping action on knives. A buddy of mine actually offered me in trade a Grimsmo Norseman. Now I don't really trade knives, so it didn't kind of appeal to me. Of course, as a person who is into knives, I understand that Grimsmos are super hot, and I think that I'd seen them around, but that design had just never kind of caught my attention. So, but I did some research on it, and of course, I was looking up the Norsemans, and I kind of saw that across the board, the general consensus was that it has an amazing action. And I went and saw a couple YouTube videos, and I'm like, hey, I've got a couple knives that do that too. And the kind of funny part, the reason why I found it amusing is because actually I remember getting the knife, and I had asked the knife maker to tighten it up because I had thought that having a knife swing like that was a little bit dangerous for me. Maybe not everybody else. But the reason why I wanted to do a video is because when I was kind of messing with my knives, I've been collecting Les George for years, starting with this one here. I think that knife is probably about 6 years old now. It's 2017. I was flipping them, and I just saw the progression of these knives up until this is a 2017 Harpy, and kind of it just kind of dawned on me that obviously Grimsmos command a ton of money, and the reason why that is because people want them. There's something that people want there, and I just thought it was really neat to see my collection and kind of the evolution, if you will, of the flipper. So we'll just get started here. I remember when this flipper came out in about 2010, 2011, the market space was not as crowded as it is now, and I remember Les Georges were they stood out as a tactical knife, and this knife here, and it does flip well, was just kind of celebrated as one of the best flippers that are out there. So this one happens to run on washers, and back then bearings weren't even in the knives quite yet. So to get a good flipping action that pretty much flipped every single time you fired it was, I don't want to say rare, but pretty unique. So that was that one. And then for fairness, I just want to show you have to give it pretty good resistance. I wouldn't say good resistance. It's very smooth to close. You don't feel anything, but there's a lot of resistance there. So I think that's an overused term. I see YouTube and everyone says, oh my gosh, it's smooth, it's smooth, it's smooth. And there's a difference. I consider Sebenzas to be smooth. I consider all of these knives here to be smooth. But not all of them have good or free resistance. So there's a difference, in my opinion, between a free knife, and a lot of knives are becoming free. So I just bought a custom knife factory Tache Baruka designed muscle, and that thing is a little scary because that thing is very, very free and smooth, don't get me wrong, but that thing is razor sharp, a huge knife, and you just kind of have to understand those knives. But anyway, back to the Les Georges here. That was the first flipper, the oldest one in my collection. This one is from 2013, so it's really cool that I can date these knives. And again, this was cutting edge. This was the Harpy. Again, it flips every single time. This one, again, is on washers here. And just a very, very cool knife. Go to close it, nothing. You've got to actually put your finger. You've got to actually move the knife. And again, I would consider this to be very smooth, just not a very free knife. But it does it every single time you want to fire it. It fires open. But if you were to close it and you just let it hang, you can't even do that. Shake the knife and let it close. It's basically you have to put your own resistance. Not very much. It's not like it's tough at all. I mean, I'm at a very bad angle from a physics standpoint here, and it's still very easy to close this knife. Okay. This is a 2015. Of course, Les has done some work on this, but this is 2015 from the Monkey Muster. And what I think is cool, or at least I thought was cool at the time, was Les had just started putting bearings on his knives. And so I'm sure he had some in 14 or 13. I'm not sure the exact dates, but this was the first time I had the opportunity to buy a knife with bearings. So I remember when I got this knife, I flicked it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it flicks very, very quickly. In fact, you'll see it when it hits the back, it makes a thud. So that was kind of all the rage with the bearings back then. I mean, there was no thought to closing them. There was just it just fired out faster, and that's kind of what everybody wanted. They wanted a knife. And I remember when I was buying the knives, that was a question. They'd say, how fast is it? How fast does it flick out? Because, maybe that half a second or whatever meant something. But this thing fired out great. Now I'm going to close it, and again, it will shut, but you got to give it a lot of pressure to shut. There was no real, in my opinion, thought given to the shutting. Now the resistance, I would say, if I'm going to guess, is about half of what the big Harpy is. So there was definitely, it was kind of like a byproduct of getting it to fire out faster, that it now had less resistance coming back, but it's still, you still have to give it a good shake to get it to close, and I'm at an angle above, but you saw how that worked right there. So 2010, 2013, all of a sudden we have some technology in the bearings here, and we have a bearing knife that was about 2015, so only 2 years ago here. And fast forward to 2017, this is from the latest blade show. This is a Harpy, and now, boom, you can really hear that thing fire out. But now check this out. Now she's just going to close on herself. Same bearing system, but I'm pretty sure, again, that's how the knife designers are doing it, because that's what people are asking for. And so, now the knife kind of closes on itself. And this is not a Les George. This is built by Larevo Knives. This is the Tribeca model. And the only reason why I brought this up is because this thing is insane. So now we're horizontal. Let me just go vertical, and you can just see how fast this thing closes. And I will preface this by saying none of these have blade play. None of these have lock rock. These are all solid lockers. So I'm not sure about the engineering, but yeah, I mean, it's a solid lock, but boom. It's insane. So this is actually a knife that I had asked the maker to tighten it up, and he did. He tightened it, but it just kind of went back into its happy position, I suppose. And now I was carrying this a day ago, and you got to be careful, because if you switch knives like I do, and some of them close a little, some of them need resistance, other ones don't. This one you have to actually, move the knife a little bit with it. This one you don't have to do anything. So this was what everyone was kind of raving about with the Grimsmos. That basically everyone liked it closing. And one of the things that I do with this knife now is I get all my fingers out of the way, and I just let her drop. Even actually every now and then, it's kind of a habit, I'll put my finger up here to make sure that it's not going down super fast, because there's I feel like a blade moving that quickly is crazy. But let me see if it'll open up. So let me just break the detent here, and then lean it down. See if that works. Yeah, I needed a little shake there. But yeah, I mean, this thing almost feels like there's no friction at all. So this is a very, very free knife. So what does that mean? Well, I mean, for old timers like myself, I feel like this knife right here is perfect. I like it. I like it fast. I can control the speed, but I don't want it necessarily to come down, because I don't know what's there. My fingers might be there, something else might be there. I like it that you just have to put a tiny bit of resistance. This knife's okay too, but like I said, it doesn't fall down super quickly, but it basically will shut. It just kind of shuts on itself. So anyway, I just thought that was a pretty cool video, kind of showing the difference between smooth, and these are all smooth because I don't feel any grit, I don't feel any kind of hiccups, I don't feel any resistance that comes in different waves when I'm closing these knives or opening these knives. But that shows you how different the originals were way back in 2010. I mean, this one, you can shake this and it ain't going. So you just got to put your finger here and make sure it goes all the way down. So if you have any questions, I appreciate you guys watching the video once again, and happy knife collecting. Thanks. Bye.